we supposed to be having a fiesta?
What's going on, Spurs Nation, my international amigos of Spurs Nation? I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, we got a great episode for you guys. Got Mac Pena from Twitter. If you're not following him already, make sure to go check him out on Twitter at Mac Pena. We're going to be talking Spurs. We're going to be talking about this past season. We're going to be talking about some future outlooks, and how we feel about what's coming up. Maybe talk a little bit of draft as well. Just want to let you guys know, though, we do have some summer goals over here at Spurs Film Room. Trying to get to 2,000 subscribers. I think we're about 50 away from 1,500. So you guys have been doing amazing on YouTube. I think we picked up maybe like 80 or 90 in the past, 2 weeks, which is unbelievable. So can't tell you guys how much we appreciate that over here. We do got a Patreon going on now. We're going to be doing a giveaway for the first 100 members that sign up for the Patreon. We're going to go ahead and send you guys a random Spurs gift. So you'll get a random Spurs gift in the mail. If you want to shop some Spurs gear, some official Spurs gear, go ahead and check the links in the description below to Fanatics and Rally House. If you're looking for tickets for an NFL game coming up this season or a concert, also check out the links to ticketdistributors.com. That's in the description below. Again, you can also get your question comments on screen live during the show by checking out the tip jar link also in the description below. All that being said, I appreciate you guys joining in. If you're wherever you are right now in the world, put it down in the comments. Let me know if you're from Canada, Australia, Thailand, Croatia, right? A lot of you guys have been dropping some weird and awesome places, right? All over the world. So it's just awesome to have you guys in here. We're all Spurs Nation. Appreciate you hanging out. Now let's get on with the show. All right, we got Mac Pena here, co-host of the At the Line podcast with Ty Yeager and Noah Magaro George, who was on here last week. Shout out to Noah. You also got a lot of stuff going on with Project Spurs. And we're just talking about before we got on air. You're big in the photography game, man. I think it's is it Hello Photography?
Oh, Hilo, yeah.
Hilo Photography, right? Doing a bunch of wedding stuff. I saw the Instagram not too long ago, man. That's good stuff. So if are you in San Antonio?
I am in the Austin area, but we travel in San Antonio, Central Texas all the time. So wherever you guys are at, we'll go.
Yeah, we definitely do. I mean, it's a real broad audience of Spurs Nation here, but we definitely get a lot of San Antonio, South Texas, So yeah, hit up at Mac Pena. I think it's Mac Pen Photo.
Yeah,
right.
I think on Instagram. I don't use Instagram very often anymore. Yeah. I probably should because I'm a photographer. Mm-hmm. But you can just hit me up on Twitter. Twitter's easy.
All right, so make sure you guys check that out. All right, Mac. So let's get into a little bit of I want to talk about you for a second before we talk Spurs and kind of talk about how you kind of got started over there talking Spurs on the podcast and in this world, in this content world that we're in right now. What kind of got you started in all this?
So it was actually Jeff Garcia of the Spurs Zone. He I think one day, sorry if you can hear my dog in the back. But I mean, it starts off, everybody starts off at the same place. We're all fans and we all have opinions and we all want to do more and be a part of it. And it feels, and especially with a team or an organization like San Antonio, where it's so ingrained in the city and it's part of the culture. I mean, everybody literally, you have, nuns that do it to schools that shut down. It's just, it's all a part of the culture in San Antonio. So it's ingrained in it. Mm-hmm. And, being that fan, I wanted to do more. I wanted to experience more and not only being a fan of the San Antonio Spurs, but also being a fan of basketball in general. I mean, all sports. Unfortunately, I didn't get to play basketball in high school because I'm not the tallest guy, so I would definitely get swatted out of the gym. So I stuck to my strengths. Mm-hmm. But enjoying the sport and loving the sport is one of the reasons why I wanted to dive more into it. And then I know I had followed Jeff on Twitter, and I kind of approached him. I was like, "Hey, what do I have to do in order to jump on and help out, and maybe write a couple of things or do some stuff for you?" And he gave me a shot. He gave me an opportunity, and I wrote some stuff, and then I continued on, and I did some more things for him, and eventually where he offered me a spot to cover the Spurs, or write some articles for the Spurs Zone, and so that kind of opened the door for it,
Mhm.
and I kind of started writing some more stuff and getting more involved, and people started following me for whatever reason, whether it's to shit on my takes, or whether it's it's to agree with me and continue on. And that kind of that started growing, and that started fostering that passion that there is for writing and being in content making. um and from there, that's when I met Ty Yeager, which is my other co-host for At the Line podcast. And then I met Noah a little bit further down, because if you guys don't know already, there's a ton of avenue, or there's a ton of uh, websites that are not only websites but news stations and content sites that are covering the Spurs and covering the Basketball Association. You have Fansided, one of them. You have
Yeah.
Air Alamo. I mean, or you have Pounding the Rock, you have Air Alamo, you have the actual beat writers from News 4, Express News.
Mhm.
Then you have Jeff with News 4. So you have all
Mhm.
these people that are covering, and it's kind of like a big inner circle. All these people kind of get together, and they talk about this stuff, and they all kind of float around the same circles. And so you start meeting other people from other news sites or other content sites, like at Project Spurs, with Michael De Leon, and Benjamin Borstein, who's doing a lot of draft coverage. And then you start meeting people like Tom Petrini, who's kind of like the godfather of Spurs Twitter. So it's just like you start meeting all these people that share the same interests with you, as far as writing, as far as content creating, and discussing, the Spurs, and NBA basketball. And that's the thing that keeps you going, is you enjoy, some people just enjoy watching the game, and some people enjoy just sitting back and relaxing, opening, popping the top on a cold one, and just enjoying it. Other people like to get a little bit more depth into it and start talking about analytics or even betting. And you all have
Yeah.
those circles. And then there's
Mhm.
the content side to it that we like to get into it and start talking about and discussing, and trying to bring different aspects and views to what's going on, just like yourself, man. And so
Mhm.
the things that you guys are doing, like you and Joe, that do these live casts and cover the Spurs. I mean, it's fantastic stuff. I mean, this is where people will come to first
Mhm.
to get any information, or to to kind of bring in their own opinion, because you guys are talking to the front line. You guys are talking to the people. And so being on talking to Joe, with Two Shots podcast, the stuff that he's doing, it's phenomenal. And watching him grow and seeing his whole setup grow, it's amazing. And I think that's one of the greatest things about covering the Spurs, and especially in this environment, is watching everybody just kind of grind and hustle and become successful. So I mean, it's that. I sorry, I got in my soapbox and it just
No,
kept
no.
going. But that's just a little bit about me, and that's how I got into it.
Yeah.
And that's why I enjoy doing it.
Dude, well, I really enjoy the podcast that you guys do over there, and yeah, man, working with like I've contributed with Michael De Leon is awesome. He's an awesome dude.
Yep. Yep.
Um, yeah, and just like all these guys out here, it was kind of interesting joining when I started like doing podcasts. I first started doing podcasts like 2 years ago, and
Mhm.
you start learning who all the people are, all the pieces are on the board and stuff like that. And it was pretty cool, and it's a tight community, and but it's growing, man. I feel like
Yep.
there's a lot of people who are now starting to like want to do more in the
Yeah.
content world for the Spurs, and that's good for everybody. That's what I always say.
Absolutely.
I was like, the more content from anyone, the better. It creates the community, it builds the fan base. That's where I see it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think the ability to put your opinions out there,
Mhm.
is starting to just explode. Like now you have the locker room app.
Yeah.
Even Twitter gives you like the ability to do the spaces, or at least some people at this point right now, you have the spaces. And then even NBA players are starting to utilize like their Instagram lives,
Mhm.
and they'll just go on there and just chit chat and stuff. And so Absolutely. Like I think the time is, even though it seems like the market is completely saturated right now, like, oh, there's all these podcasts around and everybody's trying to do their own thing and stuff like that. I think, the more content that's out there, the more diverse and diverse your portfolio can be on who you listen to. And so, and that's what I do. That's what I like to do. Even, I'll listen to people that don't agree with my takes, or that I don't necessarily agree with their takes, and I try to understand what, hey, why do they think that way? Or they said something on Twitter, let me go take a look at their podcast and listen to
Mhm.
a more in-depth explanation as to why they think that. For example, I'm kind of going to shout out somebody here, or I'm kind of call out somebody here, but why they think Michael Porter Jr. is better than Devin Booker. Like, no, you have to, in Twitter, it's all short verse form where they
Yeah.
just throw a tweet out there. It's 280 characters, and you don't necessarily kind of get the full context of what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And then, then you jump on to their podcast, or you listen to their podcast, or, you just come on here and start chit chatting with them. And then you understand, oh, okay, now I see why you're kind of talking that you made that suggestion, even though you're
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah,
Or
you're wrong. Hey, in 2021, you're wrong.
Yeah.
It's like we could talk later down the road, maybe, I don't know, but at this point in time, it's not even close.
It's not.
Hey, so all right, so you got a San Antonio FC shirt on.
Yeah, man.
Yes. So tell me, how's it going?
I mean, they're doing pretty good so far. Matt Cardone, he's an amazing goalkeeper.
Mhm.
I love all the young talent that they have. A lot of the homegrown talent that they have. I can't think of any names off the top of my head,
Mhm.
but and I'm really starting to like the support that like the Crocketeers are doing. There's also, I think there's also like a segment of the Outlaws here that are taking care of it too.
Mhm.
It's starting to become really, really great.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, all the stuff with I think his name is Precourt. I don't even remember, but all the stuff with Austin FC and how that came about, especially because Spurs Sports and Entertainment was kind of in the running to get one.
Mhm.
Regardless of what happened there, I do love the fact that like San Antonio is starting to show out for San Antonio FC now.
Yeah.
And they've been a great team and a good winning team.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they haven't won the whole USL yet at this point. I think
Mhm.
this year they kind of have a good chance. They've started off really, really strong, and they're looking really solid. And like I said, Matt is playing out of his mind. So this year they look really solid. Hopefully we can see that that momentum continue. They have, I can't think of the two kids. I think his name is Rodriguez or Alvarez. That he's a homegrown kid. He's like 18, and he's a phenom right in the center. He's
Yeah.
insane.
That's what's
So
up.
I love going to the stadium, to the Toyota Center.
I've been
Toyota Field.
seeing a lot of pictures of games like on Instagram, just like people posting, and
Yeah, man.
it looks awesome, man.
Yeah,
I haven't been able to go to a game, but it looks awesome. Definitely want to go.
the exposure is great.
Mhm.
Anybody that posts anything out there, and like I said, like they're having tailgates out there and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And then it's cheap. I mean, it's relatively cheap to go out there. Like
Mhm.
a Spurs game will cost you anywhere from like $60 to more.
Yeah.
Whereas an SAFC game for a night out, you can go out there and it's $10 to get in, and sit in the bleachers. So
Yeah.
it's relatively cheap. It's a great environment, and people are always vibing out there, and it gets loud
Mhm.
and crazy.
Yeah.
And so it's great. And in San Antonio, we all know that San Antonio is a huge soccer city.
Yeah.
So whenever the national team comes down or Mexico comes and plays,
Yes.
the Alamo Dome sells out like
Packed, bro.
crazy, dude.
Oh
It's
yeah,
packed.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
packed.
yeah,
So I know that the support is there, and we just need to see it. I mean, people need to
yeah.
show up and be loud. So it's good.
I think it's trending upwards, man.
Yep.
Before we talk Spurs, one last thing I want to ask you about.
Sure.
I hear you're a Saints fan, right?
Yeah, I'm a Saints fan.
Okay, so before I ask you just, the general, like, what's up about, your team right now, but hey, shout out Marcus Davenport,
Yeah, dude. San Antonio's own.
UTSA. Yeah,
Or,
man.
UTSA's
First,
own.
shout out. I'm a road runner, man. So, when he got drafted in the first round, what was he, like 14 or
He was
something?
14. The Saints actually moved up to get him.
Yeah.
Like they gave up a first round for the next year, and then I think they also gave up a player to get him to move up. I think he was the same draft as Patrick Mahomes.
He has, yeah. I was looking at his stats, man. I mean, he's it's what, his third year now or fourth year? What is it?
It's his fourth year. So he's going on, or it's going to be his fourth year. So he's going on that the last year of his rookie contract. So
Okay.
hopefully this year he plays out. He's been really roller coastery, like, and not so much because he's had some injuries and stuff. So injuries have kind of hindered him a little bit, hampered him. But in the Saints fan base right now, there's people are starting to check out from the Marcus Davenport project. So we'll see if the Saints pick up his 5th-year option. But he came out being this, or supposed to be this amazing, generational player, and I think injuries have really hurt him. As far as like to his full potential. He looked in some of the games that he played last year, he looked great, and the year before too. It's just every year he kind of has one of these stinging injuries, and it just develops, and they kind of keep him out so that way he's fresh, and when he does play, he's good. And there's been some games where he's stinky, but for the most part, when he does play, he's a valuable asset, and he makes the defensive line really, really great.
So you're an Austin guy.
Well, I lived in San Antonio. I lived in San Antonio for almost 10 years, maybe more. I just moved to San Antonio, or I just moved to Austin recently within this past year, because my wife got a job here, and I needed to get in a job here too. So we moved out this way. I have family over here also, so it was kind of the right thing to do.
Okay, I was gonna put the Westlake connection up there. Maybe that's why you're a Saints fan for Drew Brees.
Oh, dude, I mean, that's the reason why I started following him, like, back in the day. Because anybody from Texas, I'll support anybody, any player from Texas. They got my full support, regardless of what team they play. But Drew Brees for sure is my favorite player at this point, and then it's Alvin Kamara after that, easily.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh my God. All right, so real quick, we'll talk Spurs. Just tell me really fast what are your expectations for the Saints?
Well, as we all know, Drew Brees is no longer around. So it's going to go either one of two ways. Either it's going to go really great, and the Jameis Winston experience is going to be a total success, or it's going to be basically the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when it was with Jameis Winston, or when Jameis Winston was there. And I don't even know if Jameis Winston's going to be the starting quarterback to go in. I think we're going to see a lot of what we saw last year is kind of this rotating, and not necessarily rotating, but like we're going to see Taysom Hill,
situational,
Swiss Army knife. Like, hey, if you want to run a wildcat real quick, gain a few yards. If you need to, sling the ball down, it's gonna be Jameis Winston. I think he has, like, I wouldn't say he has the stronger arm, and I wouldn't even say he has the more accurate arm. I just think he has more pocket presence. And that's even kind of bad because Jameis Winston is kind of terrible in the pocket.
Is the coach still there?
Sean Payton is there. Yeah.
Okay.
He's a quarterback's coach. So I mean, this entire offseason and last offseason, and watching Drew Brees for a year, hopefully has given Jameis Winston that next level in his game to where, the Saints unlock him. And I mean, we know what Jameis Winston can bring at this point. You're either gonna get a really high scoring game from him, or you're gonna get a really high scoring game with a lot of interceptions. So it's like, if Sean Payton can learn to tweak that and minimize those turnovers, I think Jameis Winston can be a really great quarterback. I mean, he puts up points, man. Even in fantasy football, like, he puts up points.
Either way, whichever one you get, you're probably gonna get a pretty damn good pregame speech from that guy. That guy's a motivator, dude. I like hearing his speeches, man. They're good. Just like Drew Brees, man, was an amazing pregame, like, oh my God, like hype zone dude, man. Oh my goodness. If
there's anybody you wanted to run through a wall for, it was that man. Like, that man knew how to just light you on fire. And Jameis Winston, he's great in his own way. I mean, like I said, he has a couple of clips out there that are like, what? But he's also a great motivator. I mean, he's done a lot in the locker room within the past year. That's like situated him in a point where people are, consider him a leader now, and he's
Mhm.
he's a quarterback, so you have to be. And that's the type of guy you want, somebody that's going to take that ownership of being the leader and showing out. And Jameis from the very beginning, once Drew announced that he was out, retired, you saw, even before that, you saw Jameis putting in the work
Yeah.
to be successful. So I'm hoping for the best, praying for the best, and hopefully the Saints end up winning the division, go to the playoffs again, and we can raise the Larry O'Brien Trophy again. Hopefully, we'll see.
Well, hopefully Kamara just steps up to the plate. It should make Winston's life a lot easier. All right, Mac Pena on Twitter. We'll be talking Spurs when we get right back.
Hey, isn't we supposed to be having a fiesta?
All right, Mac. I gotta check your pulse, man.
Right.
It's kind of what I'm going to be doing this whole offseason is I'm going to be asking everyone I talk to some similar questions. And one just is what, we all know the negatives of this past season, right? I think everyone loves to talk about, everything that went wrong and how everybody would have done this or that and would have made the team better. And everyone knows more than Pop, right? And everyone has, we all know all that. So what I want to know is just like if there were any positives, any building blocks you're taking into next season. And then also just kind of like what you're excited about next season. So a little bit off of like, okay, what we went through, what we got in front of us. And then, I sent you the rundown, and I don't know if you're like on top of how into the draft are you?
I'm pretty into the draft.
Okay.
I would definitely not say I'm like a draft expert. Like there are some out there like Benjamin Borstein, Gabe from All Sports Day Talk or something like that, and Noah Magaro George is covering that thing. So there's definitely people that are way more educated on the draft than I am. Right now I'm just kind of skimming.
So am I. So am I. I'm not like, I have no idea who the top 10 players are until the season's over, until like the college season's over. But then I'll do my research after that. And then,
that's what I do. I mean, I'm way too busy right now to like dive into the draft and all these guys. And that's why I rely on like Benjamin Borstein and Noah to
during the season, especially this season, there was just no time. There was no time. It was game. It was just, there was no time.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. So positives from this season. You got any?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm always the type of guy. I think I'm as a type of person that I am personally. I think I'm a pretty pragmatic. So I try to look at things like as they are, and I don't want to inflate anything or not prop up anything too much. So I think there were some solids. I mean, like right out of the bat, DeJounte Murray. We saw DeJounte Murray for the first time, probably being 100% healthy and unchained, and he was an absolute menace. Like if he doesn't get all NBA defense this year, we all know what it is. The NBA hates the Spurs, period. Because that man deserves it over a ton of other guards.
I better not see Dennis Schroeder up there on top of DeJounte Murray or something like that.
No, man. No. Like, I mean, you can think of like maybe 5 guards that are probably DeJounte Murray has to be in probably like the top 5 best defensive guards. I mean, I can only think of a few like off the top of my head that I would even say that are even better than DeJounte Murray. But he played phenomenal, and he elevated his game to a level that people did not expect him to. And going forward, if they completely give him the keys and say, this is your team, this is your offense, you run it how you want, I mean, he's probably going to be a high teens, maybe even 20 point scorer. Like right now, this season, he was averaging about 16 points a game. So he's already up there. So if he gets the more opportunity to initiate the offense and run the offense and have the ability to shoot the ball more, he's probably going to be he's a lethal scorer from the mid range. I mean, the dude was shooting like I think almost 50% from mid range, and he's been working on that elbow shot. Like when he comes around off the screen and he just pulls up on that elbow, man, he loves that shot.
That's like for the past 2 years, he's been shooting that one really high.
And that's the thing that you like to see, and that's one of the I guess that's my main point is you like to see this development in these players. And that's the one thing that we've constantly seen from DeJounte, We've seen it from Derek. Unfortunately, he just had a ton of injuries this year, and it just was not his year. But even when he was on the court, that dude, the way he swings that momentum in your favor is just insane. Insane. When he's on the court, he puts that W in the win column way faster than any other player on the Spurs, just because of how smart he is, how defensively tough he is, and how intelligent he is at basketball. I mean, the plays that he makes are second to none.
Yeah.
So DeJounte's growth is definitely, and I think, maybe DeJounte should have been in the conversation for most improved. I mean, obviously you have a ton of other players that were really good, like Christian Wood and stuff, but DeJounte definitely showed a lot from the season. And again, he's a whole year off of his knee injury. Like this is actually his first year back. Yeah. Like last year he was just back, and so he was kind of still working
minute restriction, all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is his first year, like completely unchained and ready to go, and he looked good. So DeJounte Murray was definitely a really, really solid solid positive there. I would probably say, well, we got to see how the off season goes, but them opening up minutes, I think LaMarcus that was kind of a good thing because of what it allowed, or what it gave more to the younger players, even though we didn't see him a lot. Eliminating LaMarcus from the lineup allowed more of the younger players to play, especially like Keldon and Devin. Like they got into the rotation more. Definitely Devin Vassell. That's another that's a good transition to Devin Vassell. He has been a great pick. And obviously all these experts and draft analysts and stuff are never going to give Devin the light of day, or they're never going to consider him rookie of the year because of how little minutes he got in the rotation. But I think, if you were to extrapolate like his per 36 minutes, he would probably be somewhere up there with some, I wouldn't say like Anthony Edwards or anything like that, but he would probably be somewhere in that like second tier from
he'd be like
rookies of this.
He'd be like top 10.
Absolutely. Top 10 rookie. I mean, even with the limited minutes he had, he was still a very impactful rookie.
Per 36? Dude, yeah, he was defensively too. Like he was just a monster.
I'm not even looking at that, but I'm sure. I mean, per 36 is even if you want to do like the 100%, the per 100 possessions, whatever. I mean, per 36 is he's scoring 11 points, so that's good. I mean, for a rookie, like he's getting it, and his defensive IQ is just it's also great. So the Spurs, they have this defensive minded team where they have a bunch of wings that can defend the perimeter from 1 to 3, maybe even 4, and they're just missing like 1 or 2 more pieces. And so going forward, that's kind of an optimistic thing. Like, you have a certain identity, or at least it's kind of starting to mold itself out. And so you're kind of shaving away, and you're kind of starting to see exactly what the Spurs have been doing by drafting, these longer guards, these perimeter guys that can they can shift between, between the 1 and the 4. And so going forward, I think that's a good positive, is you have kind of semi an identity. And so they just need to capitalize on that now. They have the draft, and they have a ton of cap space. That's also another positive, is they have a ton of cap space. So it's like you have the ability to kind of fortify your identity going forward from this point. After 21 this season, what the Spurs team is going to be about, and you're going to see a completely different Spurs team, hopefully.
Yeah, for the previous 2 years, man, we were struggling in that identity column, or like in that identity on that, when we were doing the whole LaMarcus DeMar thing those 2 years, except for the bubble. We really didn't know what was what. We were having our worst rodeo road trip ever. We were like, we were just losing to all the bottom teams in the league. And it was hard to watch those past 2 years. But yeah, no, definitely. I agree with you about DeJounte. I think he was like that Spurs Nation MVP this year, and just showing all that heart, hustle, and grit every single game. Making big plays after big plays, big steals. Oh my goodness, man!
Yeah, he was doing that Manu thing where like Manu just comes out of nowhere and does something crazy, and it was DeJounte this time.
Yeah, dude, and his finishing at the rim, I think, was the biggest improvement And when that's actually what let him kind of take those steps forwards, like scoring more points and all that stuff. Because, hey, man, like you said, this is the first year full season back, not only running the show, but this was like every style of offense that he had played in before this year was like a slow down, find LaMarcus in his spot, execute here and there, like it was a much slower pace. And, DeJounte is one of the fastest dudes, that there is,
It's kind of crazy. Like this whole entire team is kind of fast. I think the only one that's like a little bit slow, but even still fast is Derek. But everybody else can like sprint down the court crazy fast.
Yeah, it's all right. Derek doesn't need to sprint back as fast. He's gonna step in front of you and take the charge and transition.
Yeah, he's no slow mo. Like he doesn't compete with slow mo. But I don't think he's the fastest guy on the court.
Yeah, no. So just seeing DJ flourish in a system that I honestly, this is something that I'm gonna be talking about a lot this offseason, is just the style of play. I think it's gonna change. I think it has to change, and not that we have to slow it down, but I think what we did this year is gonna have to change. But it was a fast style offense that we played, and it let DJ flourish, and he did, man. He took that step forward. I think that we're all hoping for.
Yeah,
we're like, man, everyone really believes in DJ. We all believe in DJ. It just took him about 10, 15 games this season, I think. And then he started making everything around the rim, bro.
Yeah.
And that was huge. The identity, that's on the money. And all the pieces, I think, to the identity that we're bringing back are under contract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think with the exception of like, the only people that are not going to be on contract are going to be, DeMar DeRozan. He's up for contract renewal if they go that way.
Mm-hmm.
Rudy Gay, Patty Mills, and Trey Lyles.
Yeah.
And Gorgie Jang. Like those are the only guys that don't have a contract going into next season. So I mean I mean one of the positive things, if you want to put it that way or spin it that way, is like this team is actually really young.
Yeah.
Like for all the people that are on contracts, I think it was like 23 is the average age.
Mm-hmm.
The Spurs right now average age is 25 or 28, something like that.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's one of the youngest teams that they've ever fielded. So that whole youth movement is already starting. It's happened. It's already going. So we'll see what they do with DeMar, Rudy, Patty, and Gorgie and Trey. I don't expect Trey to be here at all.
Yeah.
Gorgie,
he was barely here during the season.
The dude was like non-existent, even though he probably could have played in some of these games when we needed like a bigger four. Who knows what happened there? That's another like Damari Carroll situation.
Yeah.
But Gorgie Jang, I think he might resign, or he should at least. It's a pretty good spot for him.
Mm-hmm.
And then as far as Patty, Rudy, and DeMar, like, who knows? Patty's probably going to resign. Rudy probably going to go somewhere else. And then DeMar, I don't even know about that one.
Yeah, we'll see how the market treats DeMar. Like how many teams are there out to get him and all that type of stuff.
After seeing some of these playoffs, like he should probably be coveted as an extremely high free agent, just because of the fact like some of these playoffs they've been high scoring, but they've also been low scoring. Like it's been stagnant, where it's like nobody on the court can initiate an offense, or like you have one person that's getting triple teamed and no one else is scoring anything. So it's just like DeMar DeRozan, the mid-range master, come and get him.
Yeah,
he's there.
Yeah, man, he's a scoring machine. He's gonna just give him the ball and get out of the way, man, and go stand and be ready to pull it when he kicks out to you.
Exactly.
That's why teams like I was talking to the guys from OOC yesterday, and they mentioned like Golden State and how he would actually be a good fit with Golden State. I'm like, oh yeah. Well,
imagine him instead of Wiggins with Golden State. Like Golden State would be kind of insane. Like once Clay comes back, when Steph comes, or obviously Steph is back. Then you have Draymond Green that's just like covering the center. Like you don't have to rebound or anything like that. Like having just Steph and Clay being your shooters and how accurate and insane they are, like the best shooters in the world. I mean, obviously they're gonna kind of propel everybody's play, but having the ability to like rely on, that you're gonna knock down that three when you pass it out to Steph Curry or Klay Thompson. Like that's kind of a no-brainer. I'd be like, I'd go there.
Just
It fits them really well.
just do what we did last year, or no, or this
But
year,
actually make them.
Yeah, except he's kicking out to guys who can actually shoot the ball, and we have 4 guys on the floor with him that want to put it on the floor and attack the rim. So
exactly, yeah.
Okay, so I agree, man. All those positives. DeJounte, I think the identity is kind of taking shape. Now, what are you excited about going into next season? Because I think there should be a lot of excitement in this unknown phase that we're all in right now. It's like, okay, well, what's going to happen? I think we actually are going to like transition into a different phase. You know, we don't have LA anymore. That's going to be the first year we start off without LaMarcus Aldridge. You know, what happens to DeMar DeRozan? But the storyline around almost every single young player that we have, I think to me is like fascinating. So there's a lot of reasons I feel like to be excited about next season. I've talked about it on this podcast a few times. What are your kind of top areas that you're gonna like looking forward to seeing when the season kicks off?
Yeah, honestly, like I agree with you. I mean, it all comes down to, or it comes back to the youth, you know. So, like we've mentioned a couple of times, contracts. You know, you have a lot of the big contracts coming off of your books. Like literally, the biggest contract that you have going into next year are going to be Derek White and DeJounte Murray, and that's because those contracts are actually pretty good, and they have a very high value. Like they're valuable for those contracts. I think Sports Track put out something for Derek White showing how like valuable he is as a player versus his contract, and it was like the Spurs. He would be normally, according to that article, he would be like normally like a 22 million type player, like over every year because of what he brings to the team. And the Spurs have him for like 15 to 17. So it's like it's they're amazing value. And the same thing, I'm pretty sure if you were to do the same thing with DeJounte Murray, especially after this year, you would see that the value for his contract is really great. So what the Spurs are doing right now, as far as on the backside of the contracts, how they're building them, you don't really have a max player yet. And so but you have the pieces so that way you can put around him with these like versatile guards. And the money that's coming off of the books, the DeMar money, the LA money, the Rudy money, the Patty money, all those guys were making, you know, double figures. DeMar and LaMarcus making 20 plus, and all that money is coming off of the books. So even if you didn't want to spend all of it now, but you know, get kind of a mid-roll, maybe a fringe all-star guy, and then save it for next year where you would have even more cap space, or you wouldn't have more cap space, but you would have still quite a bit. And if you were to save money this year, you could pull in a really, really high coveted free agent, because there's a lot of free agents that are going to be really good available next year. And so I think the situation that they're in right now, and I kind of mentioned this, is their identity, is they have the ability to really forge and just like calcify their identity. Like right now they can say, okay, we are going to stick either with our veterans and continue that same old, you know, tired trope of like the San Antonio Spurs are old and they just kind of just blase their way through, or they're going to get really young and they're going to get way more aggressive and kind of push the ball, push the pace. And they have this young team that's still really, really good, and the pieces all fit. And, you know, whatever identity you want to go with forward, like I said, they're kind of becoming more defensive, versatile, you know, defensively varied, and it's good. And so I think with that, you know, those two things, one, the contracts being the way that they are, and two, the cap space that you have available, really can set you on a path of being successful. You know, I think next year, depending on who they draft and who they sign in free agency, you know, you can be a really successful franchise again. And I wouldn't say the Spurs aren't a successful franchise. They just haven't won a lot of games. I think, and I don't say that they're a terrible team. They've lost to some terrible teams. I wouldn't say that they are a terrible team, but the other teams have gotten better, like significantly better around them. And so they need to do the same thing. They need to say, you know what? no more of this culture stuff. We have plenty of culture, within some of our players. We have plenty of culture around us. We need to start finding the right pieces that fit, instead of saying, hey, this guy is a good fit, or this guy is a Spurs player or Spurs prototype. It's like, we understand everybody can technically be a Spurs prototype. Like, all these guys want to be in the NBA. All these guys want to play basketball. All these guys, wanted to win a championship. So bring in the guys that are going to do that, or draft the guys that are going to do that, and don't, offer these crazy loyalty contracts that, are not going to yield anything in return.
Mhm.
We saw that like with the Pau
Mhm.
Gasol contract, which is like, why
Yeah.
would you do that for him? Or why would you give him that when he only played a year or two, and then you
Mhm.
re-signed him and you gave him like 16 million? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Mhm.
And people can mention the Patty Mills contract, but it's Patty Mills. He's probably going to retire a Spur. I mean, he's
Yeah.
probably going to have his number in the rafters. Like, it's just, I can understand that one. Was I
Mhm.
happy about it? No, because I would prefer that money to go somewhere else.
Mhm.
And because we had, Bryn Forbes, which is basically the same player, as far as like what their skill set is. I was like, but it's Patty Mills. I'm not gonna. If Patty Mills wants to re-sign, and for whatever
Patty
he
Mills.
wants
Patty
to.
Mills can be the Udonis Haslam of San
Yeah,
Antonio.
exactly.
You know
He's
what I
just
mean?
there for towel waving again. If he wants to go
Yeah.
back to towel waving, I'm not gonna say it. I'm not. I'm gonna support him,
Yeah.
unless the Spurs pay him another like 15, 16, 17 million. I'm like, dude, okay, come on, man. Like,
Yeah.
come
I
on.
think like 8 to 10 is doable for Patty. I think I'd be willing to do that. Like, pay him a little bit more
Yeah.
than you would pay like just a veteran, but don't ask so much of him. I feel like we need to
Yes.
ask less,
Yes.
but pay him good.
Right. No, and that's
Yeah.
boom. You hit it on the head. Like, it's
Mhm.
like, absolutely. You can pay him a little bit more, but at the same time, make sure he's like specifically in the role that he's going to do, which is
Yeah.
just go out there 10, 15 minutes, shoot some threes, make sure he's hot, and then kind of get us back, re-spark that engine. But for him
So
to initiate the offense and stuff, no, like, leave him alone.
So I kind of came around to this idea yesterday, and that was that I don't think we should this offseason go out and spend for because like the top free agents, I feel like DeMar's the best free agent in this class. Like, like all the
Yeah.
other guys below him, yeah, they're good, but they're not like proven yet, really. And then they're all kind of like really good role players. So what I kind of came around to the idea yesterday that the Spurs should this season just overpay for shooting, overpay for like the 2 best shooters that you can get out of this free agency class. There's a few in there that are just going to be like floor spacers, but that are also like good defenders, right? At least okay defenders, not like
Or at
Bryn
least try.
Forbes. Yeah, not like, I mean, and I love Bryn Forbes. I'm not talking bad, but we all know like he'll get beat off the dribble, and then it's just so we need long, athletic 3-point shooters, and then like I agree with you. Let's kind of keep as much as we can in our pocket until next year, and then let's see what we can do next season. So yeah,
and I think that's a completely viable plan too. Like, and it might happen. Like I said, like if you look out into the future, you're going to see that the next draft class is going to be the next free agency class is it's loaded.
Yeah,
and you have Kawhi Leonard, you have Kevin Durant, you have all sorts of names. Obviously, like those guys are going to be older, but you still have a lot of high names. I mean, just fantastic players that are going to be available next year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it might be a viable plan. It's the crazier plan, I think. I mean, people are going to probably be upset. Like, why the hell do we not, go after this person? Because a lot of, if we want to get an all-star or somebody that's, like a superstar or whatever, you're going to have to trade for him, and you're going to have to give up assets, or do a sign and trade. Like, there's going to be more than just going out there and offering a contract. So
yeah,
like I said, like, is it going to happen? I don't know. Could it possibly happen? It possibly could, because it's Spurs. We have no idea what the hell they do anytime. So it could very well, that could be one of those things where it's like, it's crazy.
Yeah,
Maybe too crazy to work. Like,
yeah,
or it's just so crazy it might work.
It just might work, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about this. Let's wrap it up here, and let's talk about the draft.
Yeah, I actually see some comments. I didn't even notice this like right
Mhm.
now until I switched over the tab to
Uh-huh.
comments, and so like I see all the I
Oh,
see all
yeah.
the comments. What's up, everybody? How y'all
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah, what's going on, everyone in the chat? Greg, Daryl, Cody, what's going on, guys? Trevor, what's going on? So the draft, man, I think that the Spurs last year, Brian Wright said after the draft that their approach, he talked a little bit about their approach. We got a little bit of insight there. And he was saying, like, the question was, do you draft best available or do you draft need for the team?
Yeah.
And he was saying, well, we draft best available,
Mhm.
and then if there's like two guys, then we'll maybe evaluate which one fits the need right now. So that makes me feel just like, hey, the Spurs aren't going to mess around in the draft. If there's a better, I think this is the perfect example is Devin Vassell. We drafted Devin Vassell when we could have easily have thought, oh, Lonnie's the next guy, and then Keldon, and like, okay, we're kind of good at the forward, at the shooting guard spot, whatever. But no, man, we went out and we got Devin Vassell because he's just like a prospect, like the best Spurs prospect you can probably ask for.
Yeah, and he
In
kind
the
of
draft.
fit what they needed too. Like
Yeah.
honestly, they kind of needed like a bigger combo guard. And he was perfect. It just so happened that he kind of happened to be the best player available and something that they kind of needed.
His and like I think the Spurs value athleticism a lot more than maybe other teams because man, like you had him and Tyrese Halliburton available,
Mhm.
at that pick, and I think they just went with like, bro, the wingspan, the muscles, the athleticism, and
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure all these character traits and all that stuff too is Devin Vassell was off the charts and all that stuff, but he's the truth. I think Devin Vassell is going to be probably one of our best players for a long time.
Absolutely.
I think once they start getting him more involved, and I'm not pretty sure. I hope it's next season. I think he proved that, like, hey, he can take a higher workload and he's going to be all right. And he gets that opportunity. But, eventually he'll be getting all the shots. He'll be getting more shots
Yeah.
and minutes.
I think one of the great things about this year was that, and I kind of mentioned it a little bit, was the Spurs kind of went more playing the rookies because we saw, I mean, Devin Vassell, I think he spent maybe like a game or two, if that, in Austin. Like he was in San Antonio and
Yeah, he was
traveling
there
with the team
in Austin. I
a
mean, in
whole
San Antonio.
bunch. Yeah, like a
Yeah.
whole bunch. I don't even like I said, maybe if anything. I don't even remember him going down to
No,
the
I don't
G
think he
League.
did. Trey did. They had that little
Traded.
like they had
Luka
that
did.
little the gubble. I think they called it the
Yeah,
G
the
League
Gubble.
bubble. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
Luka too.
he's so Devin was the only or has been the only rookie that's like stayed on the Spurs, like with the Spurs squad. And he played. I mean, he got some minutes. He didn't get a lot of minutes, especially towards the end. And people were screaming and yelling for him, which is absolutely fine. I mean, that's a valid argument. But he racked up some stuff for being a rookie, and we didn't see that. We've never seen that from the Spurs. And I mean, since like Tim Duncan, I think.
Kawhi a
So
little bit.
and Kawhi, yeah, and Kawhi a little bit. So it's like that was kind of the positive, and obviously because of where Devin was, I mean, he was picked 11, I think, is what we draft last year, and so he was already a really really good player, and the Spurs kind of understood like, hey, this dude is just way too good for the G League. There's no reason for us, and we could use him in the rotation, and so and yeah, I think he's going to be one of those big pieces moving forward.
So he's the real deal, and I don't think the Spurs can put him in the back burner for a few years like
No, not at all.
like some of these other guys that they have for good reason. Like Lonnie's taken a long time to come around I think for a good reason. He's shown a lot of reasons why he still needs development, but like Devin is not that guy. Devin is ready to go now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we got him at the 11th pick last year. This year we're projected, right? Hopefully the lottery ping pong balls can give us something better than 12, but we're projected at 12. So that's kind of something I wanted to ask you too. Because I think I put up a poll out on YouTube the other day, and it was just like, what do y'all guys? I was asking Spurs Nation, you guys check out my community tab on the YouTube channel, and I'm posting stuff there. Like, what I asked them, what do they want to do with the 12th pick? Would they want to trade up, trade down, or just stay at 12? So kind of I want to know your temperature on the 12th pick this season.
So, I mean, well, this year is kind of like pretty stacked with it's I wouldn't say it's top heavy, but it's been compared to last year, it has a ton of talent. Even at like the later round lottery, like we are, or like the Spurs are at 12, you can still get a really good player at 12, without having to move up and throw away a lot of your assets.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that something you should do? Like, do you want to go for an Evan Mobley? Do you want to go for a Scotty Barnes? Maybe, or even Cade Cunningham if you can get it. Absolutely. Like, absolutely. You move up and you give those pieces out. And because those Evan Mobley's going to be an insane guy. He would fit the Spurs so well. And that's honestly who I would probably try to go for. Him or Scotty Barnes. Like, I've been watching some Scotty Barnes tapes.
Yeah.
And man, Scotty Barnes looking good.
He's on my board.
And he has like a 7'2" wingspan. Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
So this year is one of those years that, like, if you really want to throw all your chips in, this is the time to probably do it. Albeit next year is kind of pretty good too. So it's like, if you can get away with like either keeping your first this year or keeping your first next year, that might be a win. And it all comes back down to like, what identity do the Spurs want to go with? Because if they end up drafting somebody like Corey Crispert, from Gonzaga, who's a phenomenal shooter, but he's not so much of a defensive guy, you might end up going the route that you were talking about, Rob. Like, you might end up going just piling it in with a bunch of shooters right now, running it back with what you have, and you can hit it next year, or you can go for a big guy next year. But Corey Crispert isn't like a small guard. He's like a 6'8", 6'9" guy, I think. I think 6'7". But he's a larger shooting guard, and the dude is like a flamethrower from the 3-point line. So I'm not going to be upset if they end up going that way. Like, if they end up going Corey Crispert, hey, that's cool. I understand. I understand what they're going for, because the dude that's one of those things where it's like, he's both, or he could possibly be the best available player, and he could be somebody that fits your need, because you need a shooter, and he's a lights out dude. If they end up going with a big guy, like let's say you have Franz Wagner that's there, or you have Garuba that could be there also. You have, I'm trying to look at it right now. Giddey. Giddey's not so much a defensive guy, but he's a big dude. Ty Jones would be another great one.
Yeah.
Texas boy. So
yes. Yep. So I'm
top 4 coming. Yeah, Greg.
Top 4
prayer
coming.
Circles all around. Turn on
we'll light all the Jesus candles in San Antonio. We'll get them all lit up.
Top 4.
We'll get them all lit up. But my preference would be to stay at 12. And I think there's, like you said, good talent. And if the Spurs really liked one of those top 3-4 guys, they're mostly guards except for Mobley.
Evan Mobley.
Right? And I don't think the Spurs are, I wouldn't put it past them to draft another guard. Like, if they think that guard is going to be better than all the guards that we have right now. It's kind of like the Devin Vassell thing that I was talking about earlier. I think they drafted Devin Vassell thinking like, look, man, this guy can be better than everyone we have. Even though we have a plethora of guards or whatever, we're gonna draft another one, But I would prefer, if we stayed at 12, we went out and spent on some proven shooters. Not that rookies have been proving lately that they can come into the league and shoot the 3.
Tyler Herro.
Yeah. Rookies are more capable now than ever, more than ever at that point. But I like us drafting like a wing big guy. Let me see. I have my draft board right now. Some of the ones that you just talked about are on my list. Definitely Scotty Barnes is there. He looks like a lot of fun. But he's not number 1 on my board or anything like that, because I would prefer. Anyways, but he's good. I like Josh Giddey. This is in no particular order. I like the fact that he's just a playmaker and he can make the game easy for you, and he can just make the right pass and get an easy bucket. A little bit of Tyrese Halliburton does that too. And he just moves the ball, and he just, there's a flow to what he does, and it just makes it easier for everyone else. And that's kind of what I'm seeing out of him. Moses Moody, another guy, and Usman Garuba. I like him too. So I'm looking for more of like that type of impact in the draft, I'd pay for shooting. But I think 12 is a good spot. I don't think we need to. I don't think we need to move up or trade down for any reason. I think we should take what we can get at 12.
Honestly, I think you're right. Like I said, like this draft is so good, or it can be potentially so good that even if you do draft at 12 or even 15, like let's say you move back a little bit, whatever, you're gonna find a good player. You're gonna find somebody that's gonna play, and that's not gonna be somebody that you lose to the G League, or somebody that you lose like that like one of like Nikola Milenitov that's out in the EuroLeague. Like these guys, anybody that you choose at 12 is probably going to be a Spur for at least their rookie year, their rookie contract. So who would you say that would be your first one? Like who would you want, bar none? Like if you were at 12, you get the phone call and you're like, all right, we're ready. Who is your pick? Like who are you going to go for no matter what?
I think if Moses Moody is there,
you'd go for another shooting guard.
Well, he's more of like a small forward. I think he's got like a 7.
He's like a combo.
He's like
guy.
a 7-foot wingspan. And he can shoot the ball, man. And so I think he's more of like a forward type player. So, but who's got a stroke, and his wingspan, bro. He just shoots because he just shoots over a lot of people, and he's like a 3-and-D guy, and that's probably who I would pick if he was there. Then I would look at maybe either Josh Giddey or Garuba or Usman Garuba.
Yeah, and like I'm looking at the comment and like exactly what John Villarreal is saying.
Look, Moses Moody for his 3-point shooting and 3-and-D potential at the forward position. Josh Giddey for his playmaking, and Garuba just for his impact. He's gonna have impact.
He's a defensive, like his defensive plays are insane. But like Josh said, like I don't think at 12 you're gonna find a franchise altering player. Like it's probably not gonna happen. It could. Look at this year's MVP. Jokic was a second rounder, and he's a franchise altering player. Not gonna say that's gonna happen. But I think he's gonna be like another Devin Vassell, like a really high, maybe fringe all-star type of player that you can rely on. That's just solid. Devin, that can be conducive to a title team, not just that. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's honestly, I think if there was anybody that I could draft, obviously, like if I had the number 1 draft, I'd probably take Evan Mobley, like with 1. But
would you trade up for Mobley if you were the Spurs?
That's a hard one.
He's on my board.
He's on my board. What they want.
Yeah, but
it depends on what they want.
I think that you got to start plugging in shooters in this starting lineup, bro. It's like you're gonna do the Derek and DeJounte thing. I think that's like the only 2 pieces that are set in stone. And then if DeMar stays or leaves. But then other than that, you need to start plugging, because you got Jakob. I think they're gonna roll with Jakob if for as long as they can, and he ain't gonna shoot the ball. So your other 2 guys, they gotta have some type of a stroke. Yeah, and so. So Pirtle or Mobley, and Mobley's great and all. I don't know.
I would probably run Mobley like at the 4 position, or like a huge, like kind of like a Kristaps Porzingis.
That would be cool.
Because he does have a pretty good stroke. He's not bad. Obviously he's no Moses Moody or Corey Crisper, but he's not bad. I would probably end up going with Scotty Barnes just because of how big he is. He can fit that 4. And he has a beautiful stroke. Like that guy can shoot. And he has his midi's really good. He's coming out. I mean, his 3-point shot is coming down really, really well, like from his workout tapes that he's putting out. So Scotty Barnes would probably
Florida State, right?
Yes.
Right. So him and Devin, the same college program.
Yeah, you have a good 3 and 4 right there. Scotty Barnes could probably play the 5, like if you wanted to go like in a small lineup, because you think he's like 6'9". So he would be a smaller center, but I mean, he would still be, if you wanted to run a small lineup, like a death lineup, like the Golden State Warriors used to run, he would be perfect for that, because he could shoot the ball and he could play the interior. So
dude, Scotty Barnes out, like running in transition, running on the wing, like that's exciting. Him and Keldon kind of maybe can be like a little 1-2 punch at your small forward position. Yeah. So I mean, that's what we're talking about. All these guys are good. Like
Yeah.
Kispert's a great shooter. I wouldn't draft him at 12, but I think he should be drafted top like 15 by somebody. By somebody's got to draft this kid because he's gonna be he's gonna stroke it, man.
You know what? I could see him going. I could even see him going before, just because of, like you said, like he's just an exceptional shooter. So it's like I could definitely see him or somebody falling because of him, and so that only plays into the Spurs' favor. Like even if they stay at 12.
Yeah.
So
we'll see with some of these teams that they be drafting all crazy, man, like Sacramento and Phoenix. Sometimes they just
let them, dude. Some of these teams have gotten the number 1 pick like in consecutive years, and they're still shit.
Yeah, I know. So we should be, and you know what? And I'm not mad at the Spurs again drafting a piece that can be a big part of our future, just like they did with Devin Vassell last year. Keldon was a big surprise, but I mean, I think once you saw him step on the floor, you're like, okay. Luka still needs to prove whatever he's got. Hey, do you follow these guys on Instagram, like on their off season, or do you follow like what they're up to? Players?
Yeah. Luka's over here getting tatted in Miami.
Yes, dude. On Instagram, I saw that.
Somebody had mentioned he's gonna come back looking like Brandon Ingram.
Yeah,
got a long way to go, but
yeah,
but he's definitely getting there.
Hey, but and he's been adding pieces since he's gotten in the league to that sleeve, and I think that says a lot about that says a lot about him, and I think that's like some part of him that Spurs Nation has no idea about. I think there's going to be a lot about Luka that catches the Spurs fan base by surprise. And
like you were saying, like
he's not soft. I think everyone kind of thought maybe he was shy or whatever. And bro, you don't get a sleeve, a full sleeve, like in the span of like a year and be soft. It's just
unless you have an ink addiction, like that's just that. But like you were saying, so if they ended up going, I mean, Luka could potentially or probably is going to be that new power forward, like the starting power forward at the 4. I mean, he's great defensively. He played really good defense, and he can score from anywhere on the court. So it's like if they ended up going with a Moses Moody, or if they ended up going with like a Corey Kispert, where it's like specifically shooting, that would be perfect. Like if you were to run, your DeJounte, Derek, Keldon, and then DeJounte, Derek, Keldon, Luka, and then Pirtle, and then come in with Lonnie and then Corey Kispert, or Moses Moody, or even bring in or put in Corey Kispert there, like instead of Derek, so that way you have both Corey and you have Luka that are able to stretch that floor, and then everybody else can pack the paint. It's just depending on who you draft or where you see Luka going, you can go. There's right now the Spurs have plenty of avenues that they can go into if they want to, and really solidify that identity.
So moving into next season, real quick, just before we wrap this thing up, appreciate you being here. First off, Mac, for like over an hour, man. Time kind of got away from me on this one. Shout out to John Villarreal and Joey Coco for subscribing, new subscribers to the channel. Really appreciate you guys. And let me see. I think we also got a tip here from Gilbo Baggins.
Hell yeah,
Keldon is the Spurs' future.
I think if he works out with DeMar DeRozan on his interior game and his footwork, man, Keldon's gonna be a bad boy.
Yeah. So did you catch the ESPN essay interview that he did a few weeks ago?
No.
Okay, so a few weeks ago he did a interview with those guys. It was a great interview. I did a whole review on it here on my channel. But he talked about ball handling is something he's working on this offseason, and also his pull-up mid-range jumper. And those guys were like, no more mid-range, shoot the 3. And then he was like, well, I've already gotten, like, he didn't say this like this, but I'm paraphrasing. He was saying that he's improved a lot on his catch and shoot, like when he catches and pull up.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that was the wrong attitude to have on that comment, because he's going to need that pull-up jumper, bro. Like, that's the whole thing with Keldon. They kind of figured him out
towards the
throughout
end.
The season, knowing that he's a bulldog to the rim, and that's like his number 1 option, number 1-2 option probably.
Yep.
So just when he beats that guy off the 3-point line off the catch, and he puts the ball on the floor, that's going to be his best look. His most wide open look is probably that 1 or 2 dribble off the catch and hitting that mid-range jumper. So it's going to be a sick addition to his game. No doubt.
And I mean, like, I hate these. Sometimes people, like the analytical people, can get way too analytical because, like, the mid-range game is never gonna die. I'm here to tell you, regardless of what you think, all you stat nerds, it's never gonna die. Like, it's never gonna die. Unfortunately, it's just not gonna happen. You know, you're gonna have to implement it in your game because the mid-range game is so crucial to like slowing the game down. Especially like when you're moving the ball around and you get a guy that, you know, gets lost in all the shuffle, like that mid-range game is always gonna be there. So it's like you have to, especially as a wing, I think you have to have like a solid mid-range game. I mean, we saw DeJounte start improving it, and so Keldon probably needs to just spend the entire summer with Chip England and DeMar DeRozan and make sure he can get that, you know, the footwork down.
Yeah. So as Keldon progresses through his career, like adding little pieces here and there, dude, he's going to be one of our, and we don't even really need to talk much about it, but he's going to be a pillar, I think, in this organization for a while. For everything that he brings, like that has nothing to do with basketball. It's just a winning attitude, that competitor, that competitive nature. Shout out to Daryl Sudol. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Daryl Sudol, thank you for subscribing to the channel. All right, guys. So this is going to be it. Mac, before I let you go, why don't you tell all the listeners and people who are watching this live and also post live where they can find your work and follow you?
So most of my work is done on Twitter. You guys can follow me at Mac Pena, just easy, my name. You can also follow Project Spurs. That's where, you know, most of whatever I do is on there. Benjamin Borstein is coming out with a ton of draft insights. So if you really want to get to know who's out there, what name is, you know, the Spurs are kind of attached to, Benjamin Borstein is another one. He works with Project Spurs. He's doing all the draft coverage. And then, you know, follow anybody else. You know, follow Rob Trejo here. If you want to follow Noah Magaro George, there's a lot of people that are doing really great stuff with Spurs content right now. Or that have been doing stuff with Spurs content. And I think, you know, if we can definitely support each other in that instance of getting more people to come in, you know, it's only going to get better. And so, again, my name's Mac. You guys can follow me at Mac Pena on Twitter. Check out Project Spurs, projectspurs.com, and also their Twitter handle at Project Spurs.
Can they be expecting anything from At the Line?
Oh yeah, actually,
coming out.
Ty's probably gonna kick my ass for not mentioning it.
No, I got you.
We've kind of been away. Again, like all of us do certain things with different outlets, and so it's just like we're all over the place. But we do continue on continuing the show. We're always talking about it, and Noah and I just got together not too long ago and mentioned that we need to do another show. So be on the lookout for another At the Line podcast that's going to be coming around pretty soon. And hopefully we can all start, you know, everybody jumping in on each other's podcast and just kind of doing the same thing, because this is great, man. I love this type of format, and I think this needs to be more mainstreamed.
Yeah, man. So make sure you guys go follow Mac everywhere, on Twitter, Instagram, At the Line, the podcast. Check everything out he's got going on all over the place. Just to let you guys know before we log off that we do have some summer goals. We're trying to get to 2,000 YouTube subscribers. We're crawling our way there every single day. Really appreciate you guys getting about 4 to 6 new subscribers a day. So really appreciate y'all there. We opened up a Patreon. Very excited about that, where we're going to give our Patreon members exclusive perks to the show and getting on the show and private group chats and a Discord and just all these different perks for our Patreon members. Also, we have a giveaway for the first 100 members. They're going to get a random Spurs gift showing up on their doorstep when they sign up to become a member. The link is in the description below. Check out our Patreon page. It is there. Also, if you want to shop some official Spurs gear, click the Fanatics and Rally House links that are in the description below. A lot of cool products. Get your Spurs swag from there. If you're looking for some tickets to an upcoming NFL game, a Saints game, a Cowboy game, wherever you're at, go to ticketdistributors.com. Click the link in the description. They'll let them know that Spurs Film Room sent you. And appreciate you guys dropping the tips in our show daily. Appreciate that. It goes a long way to helping support the channel. And all these are ways that you can support the channel. We're trying to do some episodes for you guys Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I do have to let you guys know that Friday's episode will not be at 6 p.m. It will probably be during the morning or afternoon. I have to go to a wedding on Friday, and that's the first wedding I'm going to go to during this whole COVID stuff. Yeah, so that should be interesting. But I'm looking forward to that. One of our assistant coaches here that I coach with in South Texas, he's getting married, so it's a good buddy of mine. So I'm excited for that. But all right, Mac, man, thank you for hanging out. And we got to do this. We got to do this again, man. Got to do it.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like I said, this is a great time. And everybody in the comments, have a great one. And everybody that listens to this, have a great one. And always go Spurs, go.
Adios, Spurs Nation.